Good morning.
Good morning.
Are we live? We are live. We're late and live. And
Late and live,
today
yeah.
we're going to keep it very tight on this show. It's one of those Mondays that you got to
Get things
punctual.
done.
Get things delivered. As we
That's
say
true. Get
on
things
Wake
delivered.
Up and deliver.
Hit those doc appointments.
Well, good morning, everybody. As always, welcome to Wake Up and Deliver with myself and John, bringing you the latest, greatest, and most interesting things that are happening, what we find interesting of logistics. As always, we're going to get some brain food going. I think I have an interesting one. I always have an interesting one. Waiting for John's reaction. You ready? Steady. We're bringing to the stage the quote of the day. You become what you scroll. Choose accordingly.
True.
This is why you should listen up to Wake Up and Deliver, because
I know
it's educational.
It's educational. You've just enriched your life right there.
Anyways, to get it going, John and I are running it hot. We didn't even have a few minutes to even prep beforehand. We had a little bit of technical difficulties. Huh?
Busy day.
Busy day. Any? I got a few hot topics I wanted to talk about. We'll see if you have anything first.
I do. I got the first one I want to bring up because I thought it was funny. So last week I made a post about Waymo, right? And the fact that between Waymo, Uber, and Lyft, Waymo was actually the most expensive, right? And my proposition for you there was that, is that a tech problem, or is it because that, Google/Waymo really realizes that a driverless taxi is a premium experience and they're charging properly for it? So interesting idea. But then here's Tesla and Elon Musk coming out with their robo-taxis that started a quiet pilot down in Texas. And Elon saying it's going to be $420 a ride in classic Elon kind of funny framing. So I thought that
from where to where for 20,
just in there, he just doesn't care, which I thought was interesting because I thought it could bring up a little bit of, some comments about people. What I think, when they think about operations in general, moving people, it's a type of logistics and stuff like that. Because one of the things that I've always shared in my corporate life and I live with in my life these days with clients is that, when it comes to operations and logistics, you can do anything as long as someone's willing to pay for it in some way. So there's some interesting things with the robo-taxi I'll get your take on, is that, could it be cheaper in general? For sure. I mean, the tech that Tesla uses is a different type of tech than what Waymo uses or Amazon Zox, for example. It's a different type of tech using cameras and stuff like that. There's still a person in there for right now. So let's just, put that aside because it's obviously just like a subsidy at the moment. But the interesting thing is, if you think about it, if the cost of a regular taxi is, let's just say $100 a day, and that's not true, but that's just a number because it's going to make it easy. And then that shift is, let's call it 8 hours a day. Well, in theory, if you have then a person-driven taxi where they own their vehicle, they own their shield, and they have to be driving it, versus a robo-taxi that technically can operate 24 hours a day, a little less, but let's just say 24 hours a day. In theory, it could technically sell at a third of the price if you think it can work 3 times more. Now, there's lots of nuance around peak periods and, really only working when there's the right volume and whatever, but you can definitely see how it can be cheaper. That said, though, I think that there's some real danger with flooding the market because, Matt, you brought it up a couple of weeks ago with some of these things about how a lot of these services are sold to us, right? Even Uber did it originally, very cheap to get people hooked. And then now that they're entrenched, they, add fees, increase the base. Like it becomes a lot more expensive than what people originally clamored on for.
I like it because it's going to segue into what I was going to talk about perfectly. Just perfectly. Anyways, I think there's a bit more nuances to the pricing of it. You're right. I think part of it is the experience and who's driving it. There's obviously the big dynamic market of just getting the bulk of the general population and they want it cheap and fast. But there's also some of those higher class ones. Like I'm waiting for a special niche, like Tesla did when they first started. Tesla didn't make the car for everybody at first. They made a luxury supercar that everybody kind of wanted. I'm waiting for that kind of experience luxury of a taxi service, and to be automated to a point of it knows what you like ahead of time, the whole bit, and you have this worldly experience of a taxi service that attracts people to want to ride into that share, right? And I'd like to see that kind of spill over to logistics, where it's not always bottom price driven, where the value of who you're using also matters, not the price that they're providing you. And you and I have touched upon this many times, and this is why I kind of segue into a great topic that I was thinking about talking about. Is I see a lot of traction on LinkedIn posts, and they're all talking about the use case scenarios of AI, and everybody's going, oh my God, look at this format. We're driving the rates down. AI can haggle with you and get you the lowest price from this carrier. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And at the other hand, we have this highest, freight fraud happening in the US right now. And people are like, oh, we didn't vet, the carrier wasn't vetted correctly. It wasn't a true carrier. Like, just because it's the lowest price doesn't mean the value is there. Right?
For sure. Yeah. I've got lots.
I got you spinning. So for me, these AI models, and I forget who said it, and someone said, I think it was Ryan on LinkedIn, and he said what he's seeing in AI is the opposite of what everybody would like to see. We'd like to see an orchestra of AI supporting what you do, not doing what you do. And that's the way to do it. Make your job easier so you can conduct the meaningful work that you want to do. I don't want to spend my time inputting orders. I don't want to spend my time tracing. I want to be able to have live updates, like a situation room in the military, and being able to handle a lot more as a single person, not have everything handed off to another person.
Yeah, there's like a lot of interesting ideas there. I think that there's I think that there's going to be a real I think that there's going to be a type of problem that's going to come up, because right now everybody's benefiting from AI in the way that it's like novel and new, and it's just kind of working. I would offer that for the most part, AI hasn't remotely had to deal with ill intent, for the most part, with people being like, I know how the system works. I'm going to game the system. I'm going to manipulate the system. I'm going to do whatever. So I think that that's one real hurdle that's going to come up. The other one that I think is really big, and I'm going to coin this phrase, and I'm going to own it. So yeah, I'm going to keep it. And I'm calling this context confusion. And this has a lot to do with what I feel happens to these AI windows when they're trying to have these large windows of comprehension and whatever. The systems get overwhelmed with too many details or too much uncertainty. If you're going back and forth and you're iterating, well, what if this, what if that, what if this, what if that? I find they have a really hard time to stay on track. The other really dangerous thing then that comes from context confusion is the fact that these bots commit hard. Like when you're on the phone or you're even in an email and you can kind of get a sense that the other person does not really know what, like, you're just getting that sense that something isn't connecting here. Like, I don't think this person understands or whatever. Zero chance. Like G and Gemini and Claude or whoever, they will boldface tell you straight up, like, this is the right answer, 100%, this is what you need to do. And then you're like, yeah, but this is wrong and it should be this way. And then it would just say, you're right, thanks for catching it. This is the right thing to do. Like, you know what I mean? And I think that that's really problematic in a lot of these systems, because when you lose the knowledge of understanding if the answer is good, how can you really base your business on the answer if you can't judge the quality?
Yeah, and that's context confusion is one that I'm stealing now. I don't know who used that phrase, but I think it's spot on, right? I think even it's the same analogy that you can use for someone who's new into the industry. They just don't know the right answer right at the top, and they think it's fine, but at least they can objectively push back and not just say yes. It almost feels like what you're alluding to is the AIs are just yes people right now.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like yes people in like the worst possible way. Like imagine the worst CEO on the planet that then has a mountain of yes people around them. Of course they're going to feel great. I think even who's that the lady that we follow, Ali, I think her name, Ali
Oh yeah,
Miller,
yeah,
or,
yeah. I like Miller. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So she, even that post that you shared with me last week was really cool, where, she's someone that's obviously a strong proponent of AI and really encourages people to use it in different workflows. But even, she's taking the position of saying, it's disappointing and disheartening to see the way that a lot of younger people are using it, where it's just like an easy button. It's not really promoting critical thinking. It's really just looking for answers, even in important tasks. And I really do think, and I've been saying this for a while, that that's going to be the big divergence. Because the thing is that if everybody can lean on the same model and everybody gets the same answers, it's kind of like having a degree. If when everybody had a degree, the degree itself became no longer the benchmark. It wasn't the differentiator, right? Like, I mean, we've seen that in education. I think we're going to see it
Yeah,
with AI.
but that's a big I think that's the schism that I was talking about with you, that we're coming to, is education and how we learn needs to diverge a bit, where it's not no longer a you're told what to do and you must do it, because that function now is becoming faulty, because you have to explore. Now you have the ability to explore the thought with someone else before you validate it, and you're able to explore the thought versus just seeking the answer.
Yeah,
Right, like let's have a conversation with someone that is in a safe area, and let's explore your idea a little bit further, and let's poke holes at it, so you can then go back and have a critical conversation with someone and be in a very strong position. And
exactly.
that is the orchestra, the way I see it, of AI. This replacement AI is where I kind of struggle with it. The orchestra AI, where a single person can make, have a $10 million company by himself, is now more feasible because he's able to orchestrate this in a higher level because of the support, versus replacing and just being on the beach and not doing. Those two
Right.
functions are completely different. It's not a replacement, it's a way that you have to engage into your nexus and able to still manipulate what is going on within your business to a greater
Well,
degree.
exactly. Right. And if we bring it back, we're a logistics show, we're operators and stuff like that. So let's put it in a real context for, the type of people that are listening. Like, if you build your business and all of a sudden you're just buying into a platform and you're doing all of these things and you can't check the quality of the loads, you can't check the way that it's doing these things, you don't really have the tools, the capability, the processes to understand if really that solution is the best, are you really in a good position for your business? Because, like, what security do you really have? What deep understanding? I've been having a lot of conversations with different type of CPG brands and stuff like that. And to me, I still think that there's a really big thing, like data processing is a really good one. Like people talking about billing and invoicing and all of these things. And at least still for now, I'm way more in the camp that I think a business, a logistics business, a CPG brand, or whoever it is going to be in a much better position by having a great ETL flow, which is kind of oh fuck, always forget what the E stands for.
Easy.
No, it's like edit, load, and transform or something like that.
It's gonna bug him now. He has to look it up.
Yeah, it is. Well, because I want to give it. Okay, sorry. Extract, transform, and load. So it's really about your data. But I encourage people very often to make sure that you're using workflows and step-by-step processes. You've seen some of the stuff that I've shown you with it, and how to process this data. You're in a way better position when you can have, like, if you don't need AI for data processing, you shouldn't use it, because you're going to be way better off with the ETL kind of platform, that you can see step by step what's happening. You can actually make changes to your business. You can understand why the answers are getting there. Some of this black box stuff that's going on with the bots, that you see them writing Python code in the background and doing this and doing that. Do you know how easy it is to get the wrong answer, because that code is like not even technically wrong, but divided by 2 instead of 2.2, or by 2.5 or whatever it could be. And then you don't even know that that's what's going on. So I really think that people need to be mindful. And to your point, how do you use these tools to enhance your business, to enhance your offer, and not just replace it? Because the more you just kind of replace and replace and replace, are you actually going to have any real tribal knowledge, unique knowledge, or innovative thought for your own business when it comes to your own solutions.
Well, even to that point, I'm going to use the best, I think, a pretty good analogy. The knowledge that it's gaining is from a flawed knowledge, because there's going to be these hallucinations on the side of flawed knowledge that is out there because it's collecting it from everybody. So just like you and I have been walking all our lives, once in a while we'll stumble. And when we fall, we can just pick ourselves up and keep going. When AI right now falls, it just completely goes a different direction. All of a sudden go upward and take off in a different direction because it finds it true. Now, if it's writing these articles and these hallucinations and more other LLMs pick up on it as thinking it's factual, because there's been cases like this where even like the Onion put up an article and then AI thought it was real, and even people have thought about it was real, and they ran with it, and it was like, no, this was satire, guys. The most basic human joke was taken as serious, and it ran with it. And we got to be careful on that hallucination where, you might say something, a programmer might, and they do often, write things in the code as a joke for themselves or a backdoor, and nobody knows it because they've even read all these thousands of lines, and then the AI reads it and goes, oh, this has to be in every single program, and now has created a backdoor program across all your whole network and exposed you to cybersecurity.
Oh yeah, like I really think that there's it's going to be an interesting thing. So, look, I agree with you. If you're doing anything, if you're running your business in whatever way, find ways to use it to enhance and empower your teams. Like, get rid of busy work, where you maybe had to copy data from one place to another, where you had to expand on data from one place to another, and like give that menial stuff to like the bots. But make sure that like at the steps of critical thinking, the decision points, the solution creation, that they're being used as like a springboard or a sounding board, not as a solution center, for what you're doing. Because to your point before, so much of what's going on these days is it's important. Like there's a lot of people that say, hey, I can be your warehouse. I can be your transportation provider. I can be your last mile provider. Like there's no shortage of anyone, right, saying this. But, it's important to understand that like they probably don't do it the same. And it is really important to make sure that like the right people are working with you for a way that partners with your business, and the carrier or service provider or whatever that's great for even your buddy may not be, and likely isn't, the best for you if your product is very different.
I just had a thought. The one partner that you partner up with has the greatest transparency will win in this AI age. One that says they're the best at, XYZ, and they have a great search engine optimization. They have no data of how they do it, because every single carrier out there is the leading in transportation. They're number one in transportation. But there's no way of assessing that information. I haven't met a carrier yet that isn't number one in what they do.
Oh, they're all the best. I joke about that all the time. Every time I would pick up the phone back in the day, it's like, oh, I work with so-and-so. Oh yeah. Why would I pick you? Well, we're the best. Well, you and everyone else that called me this week and last month and last year.
But that goes through across every single thing that you do. So the more information that you have that shows, call it quote unquote the white papers, the processes, how you broke it down, explaining how you do things differently. You might be exposing your secret sauce to a point, but as these bots start looking, because you can see the next iteration being a CEO going, hey, who should I use for logistics? And the bots will go out and search and connect with other bots eventually and have a conversation. The ones that have the transparency of the knowledge of this is how we do it, it's going to evaluate the information, be like, how does this fit into our ERP system? How does this fit into our TMS? How does this fit into how we transfer data? Oh, these things match up. Oh, they have very good on-time performance, and it's validated through a blockchain, even though we don't talk about blockchains anymore. And it's valid. Like these guys do a good job, and we have the data to prove it. And you can see a lot of this stuff already happening in nuances. If you look at not Forkites, what's the other one? They're all pivoting into this, taken away from transparency, because before they were offered just a transparency for your vendor, be able to see where the trucks are. I'll be able to hook you up with instant rates. Now they're pivoting into, I understand the how they operate, and I can manage the whole business from a data center for you, and make sure that they're doing everything correctly according to what you need, and be the manager, the project manager of that whole operation for you, because we're already integrated. And that integration that people have been working on for the last 10 years, those guys that have it are further ahead than most.
For sure. And actually, that's funny because last thought, then, just because we're going to be a little tight today, but last thought, I saw another interesting post, and I think it plays a lot into this too. So on the one hand, you've got all of these different tools or whatever, but the other big trend that's happening right now in the logistics space in general, I shared before about, people buying up warehouse space and really consolidating warehouse space and stuff like that. But now you're seeing it a lot with transportation, right? You're seeing more and more and more consolidation into these mega carriers that are same thing, right? Like the way that the market already is wildly disproportionate to like small guys versus large, but it's going to get even more that way. Like that whole middle is going to go away. Like, you know what I mean? You're going to have the small guys and you're going to have like the mega carriers. And a lot of that is really because everyone is starting to understand that like you have to start expanding. You have to start taking more of everything because there isn't just unlimited growth. So now everybody is just trying to shore up and take different parts of everything that they can to survive.
And it's amazing how quickly the conversation pivoted, where last 10 years, everybody was like, oh, driver shortage. And all of a sudden, I haven't heard a single thing about driver shortage for the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's
now
true.
It's like
actually,
over capacity, because everybody jumped into the arena. And now record number of carriers, record number of logistics providers are on the way out. And there's a lot of them that you don't know about that are happening every single day. And they're pretty big players that's opening up the market space because they've over leveraged into these different values without critically thinking about it, going, hey, that is a nice idea, I should do that, but not really going, just because you should do it, ought you do it, or just because you should do it. Help me out here, John. What am I trying to say?
Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should.
There you go. That's what I'm trying to. Thank you, John. This is
So that was interesting. So look, we burned through that pretty quick today, a few different types of things. I think, a takeaway message for anyone though is to really just understand that, and it shouldn't be a surprise, but like finding your value proposition and finding out really your uniqueness is going to become more and more important, because the things that you used to be able to do just at a capacity level or like an analysis level just on its own aren't going to be enough to stand out. So how do you really communicate the quality of your operation? How do you actually make sure that you can do the solutions and come up with the different ideas that your clients need? But also, how do you make sure that you're future focused and operationally sound enough? Because with all of these tools, the one thing that's going to be true is that everyone is going to expect you to have these abilities and capabilities.
even to that point, talk about your story. Nothing anybody does right now is a secret. The only ones that are top notch are these large AI firms that have these very in-depth businesses that can really spend money on the research. Everybody else is really basic. It really comes down to the relationship. And talk about your story. People love stories. They want to connect with you as a person and your company that has feel to it. The idea that because you have a truck and a trailer is different from the guy next to you is not true. We're all very much similar. Your story is what sets you apart, and how you relay that message to people and how you communicate and execute is really what makes a difference.
So just for the last one, we did have, how come that didn't come up? There we go.
That's right. It is a shortage of quality drivers.
Quality for sure. I would say that there's a shortage of quality providers though, in general, to be honest with you, because everybody, it's lipstick on a pig everywhere you look.
In all segments of the supply chain, from final mile to warehouse, to procurement, to whatever you want to call it. There's someone that says they can do it better than the next guy, and yet they have no proof in the pudding.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. So I think that's a good comment. Maybe next week we should talk about quality. That could be interesting, and really the quality expectations and stuff. Find some examples of good quality versus bad quality. But that's all I had for today. Any closing thoughts for you?
Nope. I think we're going to keep it short and sweet, unlike our usual selves. And we'll catch you at the same. I mean, the lumpers were quick this morning. That's why we're finishing up quite early. Normally they take their time, but we're going to be at the same dock, same appointment time next week. We'll catch everybody. Thanks again for joining us, and have a great week. Bye.
Bye.